Rain poured down on the small repair shop at the edge of town. The sign above the door flickered in the growing darkness. Amelia's Fixes, we repair what others can't. Inside, Amelia Carter wiped her hands on an old rag and looked at the clock. It was almost closing time, and the storm outside made it unlikely that any customers would come in. Amelia was 32 years old with short brown hair that never seemed to stay in place and hands that were always slightly stained with grease. She had opened her shop 5 years ago after leaving her job at a big car company. She liked working alone, fixing things that others thought were beyond repair. The shop was small but organized. Old tools hung on the walls and workbenches lined the sides of the room. The air smelled of metal, oil, and the coffee that Amelia drank throughout the day. It wasn't much, but it was hers and she was proud of it. Just as she was about to lock up, the door opened. Cold air and rain blew in, along with a tall figure in a dark coat. Amelia squinted, trying to see the face under the hood. "We're about to close," she said, "but I can help you if it's quick." The stranger pushed back the hood and Amelia tried not to stare. The woman, if she was a woman, had skin that seemed to shine with a silver glow. Her face was beautiful but strange, with high cheekbones and eyes that were slightly too large and too bright. "I need help," the stranger said. Her voice was smooth and clear, but with an accent Amelia couldn't place. "It is important." The stranger placed something on the counter between them. It was a blue object about the size of a softball, with many sides like a complex diamond. It glowed softly, and parts of it moved in ways that made Amelia's eyes hurt if she looked too long. "It is broken," the stranger said. "My young one's favorite toy. Can you fix it?" Amelia picked up the object carefully. It was warm to the touch and seemed to hum with energy. She had never seen anything like it before. It wasn't plastic or metal, but something else entirely. The inside glowed with tiny lights that moved like stars. "What is this made of?" Amelia asked. "Materials, you know," the stranger said quickly. "Just arranged differently." "Can you fix it?" Amelia turned the object in her hands. One section was darker than the rest, and some of the small moving parts inside had stopped. She could see how the pattern should flow. It was complex, but there was a logic to it. "I can try," she said. "What's your name?" "For the repair ticket," the stranger paused. "You may call me Lysithea." "Okay, Lysithea. I'm Amelia. This will take some time." "Can you come back tomorrow?" "I will wait," Lysithea said, sitting down on the small chair by the door. Amelia took the strange toy to her workbench and gathered her tools. She wasn't sure her normal tools would work on this unusual object, but she had to start somewhere. As she examined it more closely, she noticed tiny symbols etched into the surface. They weren't in any language she knew, but they reminded her of circuit diagrams. What Amelia didn't see was the tiny drone, no bigger than a fly, that had followed Lysithea into the shop. It hovered in a dark corner of the ceiling, recording everything, and far away in another part of the galaxy, someone very important was watching. Amelia worked for hours. The storm outside grew stronger, rain beating against the windows. Lysithea sat quietly, watching without speaking. Twice Amelia almost gave up. The technology was like nothing she had ever seen before, but each time she found a new approach, a new way to understand how the pieces fit together. "This isn't really a toy, is it?" Amelia asked without looking up. Lysithea didn't answer right away. "It is precious to my young one," she said finally. "That is what matters." Amelia nodded and kept working. She had always been good at puzzles, at seeing how things should fit together. And there was something about this object that seemed almost familiar, as if it operated on rules she somehow understood without knowing why. Near midnight, something clicked into place. The dark section of the object suddenly lit up with the same blue glow as the rest. The tiny moving parts began to flow together in a beautiful pattern. The humming grew stronger, and for a moment Amelia thought she heard music. "I think it's fixed," she said, holding it up. Lysithea stood and moved to the workbench. She took the object and examined it carefully. A smile spread across her face, making her look even more strange and beautiful. "You have done what our best could not," she said softly. "How much do I owe you?" Amelia named a price much lower than what she would normally charge. Something told her that money wasn't important to Lysithea, and the chance to work on such an unusual object had been payment enough. Lysithea handed her a small pouch. Inside were not coins or bills, but small crystals that caught the light like diamonds. "These are worth more than you asked," Lysithea said. Keep them all. Before Amelia could protest, Lysithea was already moving toward the door, the glowing object tucked safely inside her coat. I will remember this, she said, pausing at the door. And so will others. Then she was gone, leaving Amelia alone in her shop with the strange crystals and a feeling that something important had just happened. The tiny drone slipped out unnoticed, transmitting its recording across vast distances to a massive ship hidden behind the moon. There, on a throne made of black stone, Empress Seraphina XIV of the Draconis Empire watched the recording with great interest. The Empress was not human. Her body was covered in fine scales that shimmered like the night sky. Her eyes were golden with vertical pupils, and when she moved, it was with the grace of a predator. Around her stood her advisors and guards, all watching the same recording. This human fixed the quantum harmonizer, the Empress said, her voice deep and powerful. Without training. Without proper tools, without understanding what it was. It was luck, Your Majesty, said one advisor. Humans are primitive. They have not even left their own solar system. The Empress silenced him with a look. Not luck. Something else. Something we have forgotten. She leaned forward, studying Amelia's face on the screen. Watch how she sees the patterns. How she understands without knowing. This is what we need. Need for what, Your Majesty? Asked another advisor. For the war, said the Empress. For victory against the Chimera Collective. Their perfect mathematics has defeated our perfect mathematics for too long. We need something unpredictable, something human. She stood, her full height impressive even among her own kind. Prepare my ship, and find a way to bring this human to me, unharmed and willing. She looked again at the image of Amelia. She has fixed more than a toy today. She has fixed our future. As the Empress gave her orders, Amelia Carter locked up her shop for the night, unaware that her life had just changed forever. The crystals Lysithea had given her glowed softly in her pocket, and somewhere in the back of her mind she could still hear the strange music of the repaired toy. Tomorrow would be just another day in her shop, or so she thought. 3 weeks passed since Amelia fixed the strange blue object for Lysithea. Life went back to normal. She fixed cars, old radios, and broken appliances. The strange crystals Lysithea had given her sat in a small box on her shelf. Amelia looked at them sometimes, wondering about the woman with the silver skin and her unusual toy. One night, Amelia worked late in her shop. The radio played soft music as she fixed an old clock. Outside, the sky was clear and full of stars. Amelia yawned and decided it was time to go home. She lived in a small apartment above her shop. As she turned off the lights, she noticed something odd. The shadows on the floor didn't move right. They seemed to bend in ways shadows shouldn't. Then she felt it, a slight vibration in the floor. The tools on the wall began to shake. Earthquake? She whispered, but deep down she knew it wasn't. The vibration was too steady, too controlled. A bright light suddenly filled the room, coming through every window. It wasn't white like sunlight, but blue-green, like the glow from Lysithea's toy. Amelia tried to move, but found she couldn't. Her body felt heavy, as if gravity had doubled. The light grew brighter. The walls of her shop seemed to become transparent, then fade away completely. Amelia felt a moment of pure fear as she saw her shop, her entire building, lift off the ground. Below, the town grew smaller and smaller. Above, the stars grew closer. Then everything went black. Amelia woke up slowly, her mind foggy. She was lying on something soft that wasn't her bed. The air smelled different, clean but strange, with a hint of something like cinnamon but not quite. She opened her eyes. She was in a room unlike any she had ever seen. The walls curved in impossible ways, meeting at angles that hurt her eyes if she looked at them too long. They glowed softly, providing light without any visible lamps. The bed she lay on seemed to float a few inches above the floor, with no legs to support it. Across the room was a window, but what she saw through it made her breath catch. Stars, thousands of them, spread out against the blackness of space, and at the edge of the view, a blue-green curve that could only be Earth. I'm in space, Amelia whispered. She should have been terrified, but somehow she wasn't. Instead, she felt a strange sense of wonder, almost as if she had been waiting for this moment her whole life. A door opened in what had appeared to be solid wall. Lysithea entered, but she looked different now. She wore what seemed to be armor, though it moved like fabric. Her silver skin now clearly showed fine scales that caught the light. Her eyes, which Amelia had thought were just unusually bright, now had vertical pupils like a cat's. You're not human, Amelia said simply. Lysithea nodded. No, I am Draconis, what your ancestors might have called dragons, though that word doesn't capture what we are. And that wasn't a toy I fixed? No, it was a quantum harmonizer, a very important piece of technology that our best engineers couldn't repair. Lysithea moved further into the room. I apologize for bringing you here without warning, but there wasn't time to explain. Amelia looked out the window again. Where exactly is here? You are aboard the Imperial flagship of the Draconis Empire. We are currently in orbit around your moon. Lysithea gestured to a set of clothes laid out on a table that Amelia hadn't noticed before. These will fit you. When you are ready, the Empress wishes to meet you, the Empress. Amelia felt a flutter of fear for the first time since waking. Why would an Empress want to meet me? Because you did something impossible, Lysithea said. And we need impossible things right now. Lysithea left and Amelia dressed in the strange clothes. They felt like silk but were stronger, and they adjusted to fit her perfectly. As she dressed, she tried to make sense of what was happening. Aliens were real. They looked like dragons. And their Empress wanted to meet her because she fixed a broken machine. A few minutes later, Lysithea returned and led Amelia through corridors that seemed to shift and change as they walked. Other beings passed them, all with the same scaled skin as Lysithea, though in different colors. Some were larger, some smaller. All had that same grace of movement, like predators trying to appear harmless. They reached a massive door made of what looked like black stone. It opened silently as they approached. Beyond was a room so large that Amelia couldn't see the far wall. The ceiling arched high above, showing a perfect view of space, as if the room had no roof at all. At the center of the room was a raised platform, and on it sat a throne. The being on the throne was clearly Draconis, but larger than the others. Her scales were deep blue-black, like the night sky, with points of light that seemed to move like stars. Her eyes were golden and ancient. Amelia knew without being told that this was the Empress. Lysithea bowed low. Your Imperial Majesty, I present Amelia Carter of Earth. The Empress studied Amelia for a long moment. Then she spoke, her voice deeper than Lysithea's but with the same musical quality. You fixed something that our best minds could not, she said. How? Amelia swallowed hard. I just saw how it was supposed to work. The patterns made sense to me. The Empress leaned forward. Show me. A small table rose from the floor between them. On it sat another device, similar to the one Amelia had fixed but larger and more complex. Parts of it were dark, just like the first one had been. Amelia approached cautiously. The device hummed with energy. She could feel it vibrating the air. She studied it for a minute, then pointed to a section near the center. This part is out of alignment, she said. It's trying to connect here and here, but the flow is blocked. The Empress nodded to someone Amelia couldn't see. A set of tools appeared on the table next to the device. Fix it, the Empress commanded. Amelia picked up the tools. They were strange, but somehow she knew how to use them. As she worked, she explained what she was doing, though she wasn't sure the words she used made any sense. She talked about energy flows and pattern matches, using terms she had never learned but somehow knew. The room was silent except for her voice and the soft hum of the device. Everyone watched as her hands moved over the complex machine, adjusting, aligning, connecting. After 20 minutes, something clicked into place. The dark sections of the device lit up with blue-green light. The hum grew stronger, more harmonious. The device rose a few inches off the table and began to rotate slowly. It's fixed, Amelia said, stepping back. The Empress stood, her full height impressive. The Draconis around the room bowed their heads. You have just repaired our main defense control system, the Empress said, the one that protects our core worlds from our enemies. It has been broken for 3 of your Earth months. Amelia's eyes widened. I thought it was just another... I didn't know... That is why you could fix it, the Empress said. You didn't know it was impossible. She stepped down from her throne and approached Amelia. Up close, she was even more impressive. We are at war, Amelia Carter. A war we are losing because our enemies think in ways we cannot counter. But you think differently than both of us. I'm just a mechanic, Amelia said. No, the Empress replied. You are much more, and I need your help to save my people. The Draconis flagship exited hyperspace into chaos. Amelia stood on the command bridge beside Empress Seraphina. watching as the view screens showed the battle raging around them. Dozens of Draconis ships fought against twice as many Chimera vessels. The space between them lit up with energy weapons and explosions. "This is the Nyx sector," the Empress explained. "We have been fighting over it for 3 years. It contains resources both our peoples need." Amelia watched as a Draconis cruiser took a direct hit from a Chimera beam. The ship's shields failed and its hull cracked open like an egg, spilling crew members into the vacuum of space. She felt sick. "Those were people," she whispered. "Yes," the Empress said quietly. "My people. Dying every day because we cannot break their defenses." During the 3-day journey, Amelia had learned more about the Chimera Collective. They weren't truly alive in the way humans or Draconis were. They were partly organic crystal, partly machine, all bound together by a group mind. They thought as one, moved as one, fought as one. Their perfection is their strength, Lysithea had explained, but it should also be their weakness. If we could introduce enough chaos into their systems, they would struggle to adapt. That was why Amelia was here. The Empress believed that human unpredictability could be a weapon against the mathematical precision of the Chimera. Now, standing on the bridge watching the battle, Amelia wasn't so sure. The Chimera ships moved with beautiful, deadly grace. Their crystal hulls reflected the light of weapons fire, making them shine like jewels as they destroyed Draconis vessels. "What can I possibly do against that?" she asked. The Empress turned to her. "You've already done it. The quantum harmonizer you fixed has been modified based on your intuitive understanding of its systems. Our engineers have been studying how you think, how you approach problems." She gestured to a large device at the center of the bridge. It looked like the quantum harmonizer Amelia had fixed, but much larger and connected to the ship's systems. "This is now our main weapon," the Empress said. "It generates energy patterns that disrupt the Chimera's perfect symmetry. But we need you to operate it." "Me? But I don't know how." "You don't need to know," the Empress interrupted. "That's the point. You will act on instinct, creating patterns no algorithm could predict because they follow no logical rules." Amelia approached the device cautiously. It hummed with power. Around its base, Draconis technicians worked at control panels, monitoring energy levels and systems. "What do I do?" she asked. A technician handed her what looked like gloves made of the same crystal as the device. "Put these on. They will connect you to the harmonizer." Amelia slipped on the gloves. Immediately, she felt energy flow up her arms. It didn't hurt, but it made her skin tingle. The large crystal at the center of the harmonizer began to glow brighter. "Now what?" she asked. The Empress stepped closer. "Think about patterns, about music, art, things that flow and change. The gloves will translate your thoughts into energy waves." Amelia closed her eyes. She thought about the songs she liked to play in her workshop, about the way she would move her hands when fixing a complex machine, about the patterns she saw in clouds and leaves and flowing water. The energy flowing through her arms grew stronger. She could feel the harmonizer responding, its hum changing pitch and rhythm. "It's working," someone said. Amelia opened her eyes. On the view screen, she could see waves of blue-green energy spreading out from their ship. When the waves touched the Chimera vessels, the perfect crystal hulls seemed to ripple and distort. "More," the Empress urged. "Let your mind flow freely. Don't try to control it." Amelia took a deep breath and let go of her conscious thought. She let memories and feelings wash through her mind. Summer days from her childhood, the satisfaction of fixing something broken, the wonder she felt seeing Earth from space, the fear and excitement of this new life among the stars. The energy waves from the ship grew stronger, their patterns more complex. On the screens, Amelia could see the Chimera ships struggling. Their perfect formations broke apart. Some ships began to move erratically, as if their control systems were confused. "It's disrupting their group mind," Lysithea said from somewhere behind her. "They can't coordinate their actions." The Draconis ships pressed the advantage, concentrating their fire on the disoriented Chimera vessels. One by one, the crystal ships shattered, breaking into beautiful, deadly fragments that drifted through space. Amelia felt a pang of regret. She didn't know if the Chimera truly lived or felt pain, but destroying anything so beautiful seemed wrong somehow. "Don't stop," the Empress commanded, sensing her hesitation. "Remember what they've done to my people, what they would do to yours if they found Earth." Amelia nodded and refocused. The energy continued to flow through her and into the harmonizer. The waves spread further, affecting more Chimera ships. After an hour, the battle had turned completely. Most of the Chimera fleet was destroyed or retreating. The Draconis ships pursued, pressing their sudden advantage. Finally, the Empress gave the order to power down the harmonizer. As the energy flow stopped, Amelia felt suddenly weak. Her legs gave out and she would have fallen if Lysithea hadn't caught her. "You did it," Lysithea said, helping her to a seat. "You've given us our first real victory in years." Amelia felt exhausted but proud. She had helped save lives today, but there was something bothering her. "What happens now?" she asked. "Will the Chimera adapt to this? Learn how to counter it?" The Empress approached, looking tired but satisfied. "Eventually, yes. They are extremely adaptable, but it will take them time to understand something so fundamentally different from their way of thinking, and by then we will have developed more weapons based on human unpredictability." She placed a hand on Amelia's shoulder. "You have given us hope, Amelia Carter. For that, the Draconis Empire is in your debt." In the days that followed, Amelia worked with Draconis engineers to improve the quantum harmonizer. She couldn't explain how it worked in technical terms, but she could feel when something was right or wrong with the system. Her intuition guided changes that made the device more effective, more unpredictable to the Chimera. The Empress's flagship moved from battle to battle, turning the tide of the war. Wherever they went, the harmonizer disrupted the Chimera's perfect patterns, allowing the Draconis forces to gain ground they had lost years before. Between battles, Amelia learned more about the Draconis Empire. It wasn't perfect. They had their own problems, their own injustices. But they valued life, creativity, and freedom in ways the Chimera did not. She also learned more about the Empress. Serafina Boerteenth had ruled for over 200 Earth years. She was considered young for an Empress, but she had seen more war than any of her predecessors. The conflict with the Chimera had defined her reign. "I never wanted to be a war leader," she told Amelia one evening as they looked out at the stars from the observation deck. "My mother taught me to value peace, art, discovery. But the Chimera gave us no choice." "Do you think they can ever be reasoned with?" Amelia asked. The Empress was quiet for a moment. "Perhaps, but not while they see us as imperfect beings that need to be corrected or eliminated. They cannot accept difference. That is their greatest flaw. And if you win this war, what then? Then we rebuild, we heal. We return to exploration and discovery." The Empress looked at Amelia. "And we learn more from humanity. Your species has shown us that there is power in chaos, in unpredictability. That is a lesson the Draconis needed." After a month of battles, the war had shifted dramatically. The Chimera were retreating on all fronts, unable to counter the strange energy patterns generated by the quantum harmonizer and Amelia's human mind. But Amelia knew it couldn't last. She could feel herself getting tired. Each session with the harmonizer drained her more than the last. And the Chimera were adapting, developing shields that could partially block the disruptive waves. "We need more humans," she told the Empress after a particularly difficult battle. "Different minds, different patterns of thought. One person isn't enough." The Empress nodded slowly. "I have been considering this. But bringing more humans into this war, it would change your species forever. You are not ready for this level of galactic politics." "Earth isn't ready," Amelia agreed. "But individual humans might be. People like me who never quite fit in their own world, who might belong out here among the stars." The Empress studied her for a long moment. "You truly have found your place here, haven't you?" Amelia thought about her shop back on Earth. It seemed like a dream now, a life that belonged to someone else. Here among the Draconis, using her strange human way of thinking to change the course of a war, she had found purpose. "Yes," she said simply. "I have." The Empress smiled, showing her sharp teeth. "Then perhaps it is time to find more humans who, like you, were born in the wrong place, who belong among the stars." As the flagship set course for Earth once more, Amelia stood at the window watching the stars streak by. She thought about the future, a future where humans and Draconis work together, where human chaos and Draconis order combine to create something new. It would not be easy. There would be misunderstandings, conflicts, problems to solve, but that was where Amelia excelled, fixing broken things, finding solutions where others saw only problems, and she wouldn't be alone anymore. Amelia sat in what the Draconis called a learning chamber. It had been 2 days since her meeting with the Empress. Since then, she had been given a suite of rooms and started learning about the Draconis Empire and their war with the Chimera Collective. The learning chamber was a round room with walls that showed moving images. Right now she was watching the history of the Draconis people. They had evolved on a planet with high gravity and little sunlight. Their bodies developed scales to protect them from the harsh environment. Their eyes grew large to see in the darkness. They became strong and quick to survive. Over millions of years they built cities, then reached for the stars. Their empire now spread across hundreds of worlds. They were not conquerors, but explorers and traders. They made peace with most species they met, but then came the Chimera Collective. The walls showed new images. Crystal ships with perfect symmetry, beings made of living crystal and light. The Chimera were beautiful but cold. They believed in perfect order. Any species that didn't fit their idea of perfection was a mistake to be corrected or removed. They think we are too chaotic, explained Palos, the young Draconis who served as Amelia's guide. His scales were light green, and he moved with less grace than the others, sometimes knocking things over. They want to fix us or destroy us. And humans? Amelia asked. What do they think of us? Palos looked uncomfortable. They don't know much about humans yet. Your world is far from their territory, but if they found you... He didn't finish the sentence. The war had been going on for 50 Earth years. At first, the Draconis held their own, but gradually the Chimera gained ground. Their weapons and shields operated on principles of perfect mathematical symmetry. They could predict Draconis strategies because both species thought in similar ways. But you fixed the quantum harmonizer, Palos said with something like awe in his voice. That shouldn't have been possible. The mathematics... I didn't use math, Amelia said. At least not consciously. I just saw how it should work. That was what interested the Empress. Humans didn't think like Draconis or Chimera. They made intuitive leaps. They created art that followed no clear rules. They believed impossible things and sometimes made them true. After the learning session, Palos took Amelia to the ship's observation deck. It was a large room with a clear dome overhead. Earth filled half the view, blue and beautiful. You must miss your home, Palos said. Amelia thought about her small shop, her quiet life fixing broken things. She should miss it, but instead she felt excited. For the first time, she felt like she was where she belonged. Earth never felt quite right to me, she admitted, like I was waiting for something else. The Empress says some souls are born in the wrong place, Palos said. That the universe sometimes makes mistakes in where it puts people. They were interrupted by an alarm. Red lights flashed across the ceiling. Palos' scales paled. What's happening? Amelia asked. Chimera scouts, Palos said. They shouldn't be in this system. We need to go. They hurried through corridors now filled with rushing Draconis. Palos led Amelia to a large room she hadn't seen before. It was clearly a control center of some kind. Screens showed space around the ship. On one, Amelia could see 3 crystal ships approaching. Lysithea was there giving orders. She noticed Amelia and came over. We need to leave orbit, she said. Those are Chimera scout ships. If they report back about our presence here, they might target your planet to hurt us. But why are they here at all? Palos asked. Earth is of no interest to them. Lysithea's expression was grim. They may have detected our quantum harmonizer tests, or... She looked at Amelia. They may have sensed something different, something unpredictable. The ship moved quickly away from Earth, accelerating faster than Amelia thought possible. The crystal ships followed. On the screens, Amelia could see energy weapons firing from the Chimera vessels. The Draconis ship's shields blocked them, but each hit made the lights flicker. Our shields won't last long against even these small ships, Lysithea said. We need to reach hyperspace, and can't you fight back? Amelia asked. Our weapons are damaged, Lysithea said. The main control system is working thanks to you, but the targeting systems are still offline. Amelia looked at the screens again. She saw how the crystal ships moved in perfect formation, their attacks coming in precise patterns. There was a mathematical beauty to it. They're using patterns, she said. That's how they fight, isn't it? Perfect, predictable patterns, Lysithea nodded. Yes, it makes them very effective. But what if you did something they couldn't predict? Something that doesn't follow any pattern they would recognize? Lysithea looked thoughtful. Our pilots are trained in standard evasion techniques. The Chimera know them all. Let me try, Amelia said suddenly. Let me fly the ship. Lysithea stared at her. You can't fly a starship. I don't need to know how it works, Amelia said. Just tell me which controls do what. I'll make moves they won't expect because I don't know what I'm supposed to do. It was a crazy idea, but they were running out of options. The shields were weakening with each hit. Lysithea spoke quickly to the Empress through a communication device, then nodded. The Empress approves. This way, she led Amelia to the pilot station. The Draconis at the controls looked surprised but moved aside. Lysithea quickly explained the basic controls: forward, back, up, down, rotate. The ship's computer will prevent you from doing anything that would destroy us, Lysithea said. But otherwise you're free to move as you wish. Amelia put her hands on the controls. They felt warm, almost alive. She took a deep breath and started to move the ship. At first, she kept it simple: sharp turns, sudden stops, and starts. But as she got more comfortable, she began to move the way she would if she were dancing. The massive ship responded, twisting and spinning in ways that defied normal spaceflight. On the screens, she could see the Chimera ships trying to follow. Their perfect formation broke apart as they attempted to match her unpredictable movements. Their shots missed more often than they hit. It's working, Palos said excitedly. They can't predict where we'll be. Lysithea was watching the enemy ships closely. Keep going, she said to Amelia. We need 3 more minutes to prepare the hyperspace jump. Amelia nodded, sweat beading on her forehead as she concentrated. She thought about music, about the way notes could jump and flow. She moved the ship like that, creating a dance in space that followed no rules but her own. The Chimera ships fell further behind. Their attacks became less coordinated, as if her unpredictable movements were confusing their systems. 30 seconds to hyperspace, someone called out. Amelia made one final, sweeping turn that brought the ship around to face the Chimera vessels. For a moment they hung there in space, the hunters and the hunted looking at each other. Now, Lysithea said, the stars streaked and stretched. There was a momentary feeling of pressure, and then the view changed completely. The Chimera ships were gone. Outside was a tunnel of light and color that Amelia couldn't begin to describe. We've entered hyperspace, Lysithea said, relief clear in her voice. They can't follow us here. Amelia's hands were shaking as she let go of the controls. The Draconis in the control room were looking at her with new respect. Where are we going? She asked. To the front lines, Lysithea replied. The Empress believes you may be the key to winning this war. What you just did, confusing the Chimera with unpredictability. It's what we've been trying to do for years. Amelia thought about everything that had happened. Just a few days ago, she had been fixing toasters and car engines. Now she was flying a starship, running from crystal aliens heading for a war zone, and somehow it all felt right. I'll help however I can, she said. But I have a lot more to learn about your ship, your weapons, and these Chimera. Lysithea smiled, showing teeth that were sharper than human teeth but not threatening. And we have much to learn from you, Amelia Carter. The Empress was right about you. You are exactly what we needed. As the ship traveled through hyperspace, Amelia looked out at the strange beauty of it. She didn't understand the science behind any of this, but she understood patterns, flows, the way things should work. And sometimes, not understanding the rules meant you could break them in ways no one expected. Maybe that was why she had been brought here. Not because she was special, but because she was human. Because she thought differently. Because she could see solutions where the Draconis and Chimera saw only problems. How long until we reach the front lines? She asked. 3 of your Earth days, Palos answered. Time enough for you to learn more about our weapons and defenses. 3 days to prepare for a war she hadn't known existed a week ago. 3 days to figure out how she, a simple mechanic from Earth, could help an empire of dragon-like aliens defeat enemies made of crystal and light. It wasn't much time, but then Amelia had always worked well under pressure. 1 year had passed since Amelia first fixed the quantum harmonizer. The small repair shop where it all began was now a museum, the birthplace of Human Draconis Alliance, the sign read. Tourists from both species came to see where a simple human mechanic had changed the course of galactic history. Amelia herself rarely visited Earth anymore. Her home was now on the Draconis flagship, or on any of the dozen worlds where humans and Draconis worked together. Today she stood in a grand hall on the Draconis homeworld, watching as Empress Seraphina and the Chimera envoy signed the peace treaty. The Chimera representative was beautiful and strange, a being of living crystal that caught the light and broke it into rainbows. Its voice when it spoke sounded like chimes in the wind. We acknowledge the right of the Draconis Empire to exist in its current form, the envoy said, its crystalline body pulsing with light as it spoke. We recognize the value of unpredictability and chaos as elements of the universe alongside order and symmetry. The words were simple, but their meaning was profound. For the first time in its existence, the Chimera Collective was accepting that their way, perfect order and symmetry, was not the only valid way to exist. The Empress nodded, her scales gleaming in the light of the crystal being before her, and we acknowledge the beauty and value of the Chimera approach to existence. Order and chaos both have their place in the universe. They pressed their hands, scaled and crystalline, to the treaty document. It glowed briefly, recording their agreement at the genetic level, a bond that could not be broken by mere words. The war was over. Later, at the celebration, Amelia stood with Lysithea and Palos, watching the mixed crowd of Draconis, humans, and even a few Chimera representatives. I never thought I'd see this day, Palos said. His green scales had darkened with age, and he moved with more confidence now. He had been one of the first Draconis to visit Earth openly, helping to establish diplomatic relations. None of us did, Lysithea agreed. She wore the insignia of a high commander now, having led many successful campaigns during the final year of the war. The Chimera have never compromised before. They didn't have a reason to, Amelia said, until humans came along and showed them something they couldn't predict or control. It hadn't been easy. After that first victory using the quantum harmonizer, the Chimera had adapted quickly. But by then, more humans had joined the effort, 50 at first, then hundreds, each bringing their unique way of thinking to the fight. Some operated improved versions of the quantum harmonizer. Others helped design new ships, new weapons, new shields that worked in ways the Chimera couldn't predict. Artists, musicians, dancers, mechanics, cooks, humans from all walks of life found ways to contribute, using their creativity and unpredictability as weapons against the perfect order of the collective. The Chimera fought hard, but they were facing something they had never encountered before, a species whose strength lay in their differences from each other, not their sameness. No two humans thought exactly alike, and that made their actions impossible to predict as a group. After 6 months of consistent defeats, the Chimera had requested peace talks. It had taken another 6 months to reach the agreement being celebrated today. What happens now? Palos asked, watching as a human child showed a young Draconis how to play a simple game with colored stones. Now the real work begins, Amelia said, building something that lasts. The alliance between humans and Draconis had grown stronger through the war. Earth was now under Draconis protection, though most humans still didn't know about their new allies. That would come gradually as Earth was introduced to the wider galactic community. Meanwhile, thousands of humans who, like Amelia, had never quite fit on Earth, found new homes among the stars. They worked on Draconis ships, lived on Draconis worlds, even started families with the dragon-like aliens. Thanks to advanced genetic technology, Amelia herself had been given a new title, Ambassador of Human Innovation. She traveled between worlds, helping both species understand each other better. She had no family on Earth to miss, and her new life fulfilled her in ways her old one never had. Across the room, the Empress caught her eye and nodded slightly. Amelia excused herself from Lysithea and Palos and made her way through the crowd to where the Empress stood. "It is done," the Empress said quietly as Amelia approached. "A new age begins today." "Thanks to you," Amelia replied. "Your willingness to try something new, to trust a species you barely knew." The Empress shook her head, her scales shifting with the movement. "No, thanks to you, Amelia Carter. One human who fixed a broken toy. They both knew it had been much more than a toy. That simple quantum harmonizer had been the key to everything that followed. But there was truth to the Empress's words. It had all started with a simple act of fixing something broken. "Come," the Empress said. "There is someone who wishes to meet you." She led Amelia to a quieter part of the hall, where a small Draconis child waited. The child's scales were still soft and pale, showing her youth. Around her neck hung a familiar blue-green crystal device. "This is my youngest daughter," the Empress said, "the one whose harmonizer you first repaired." The child looked up at Amelia with large, curious eyes. "You fixed my toy," she said in a high, musical voice. "Mother says you're the reason we won the war." Amelia knelt down to the child's level, Your mother gives me too much credit. Many people helped win the war. But you were first, the child said with the simple certainty of youth. You showed the way. She held out the harmonizer. Can you teach me how it works? Not the Draconis way, but the human way. Amelia glanced up at the Empress, who nodded encouragingly. I can try, Amelia said, taking the device gently. But the human way isn't about knowing how things work. It's about feeling it, intuiting it. Show me, the child said eagerly. As Amelia began to explain, she realized that this was perhaps the most important part of the piece. Not the treaty signing, not the political alliances, but this simple exchange of knowledge between species. The Draconis learning human intuition, humans learning Draconis precision, both becoming stronger together. Months later, Amelia stood on the observation deck of a new ship, the first built jointly by humans and Draconis. It was named Harmony, a word that had meaning in both cultures. The ship was designed for exploration, not war, carrying scientists and diplomats to new worlds. Beside her stood Kelly Reyes, one of the newer human recruits. Kelly had been a sculptor on Earth, creating art that defied conventional rules. Now she worked with Draconis engineers, her artistic intuition helping them design systems that no purely logical mind would conceive. Sometimes I still can't believe this is my life now, Kelly said, watching as a nebula slowly came into view, its colors more vibrant than anything visible from Earth. 6 months ago, I was struggling to pay rent on my studio apartment. Now I'm helping design spaceships, Amelia smiled. She had heard similar comments from many humans who had joined the Alliance. It's strange how things work out. How finding your place can happen when you least expect it. Is that how it was for you? Kelly asked. When you fixed that toy? I didn't know it at the time, Amelia said. But yes, that moment changed everything, not just for me, but for both our species. She paused, thinking back to her small shop the rainy night, the strange customer with the broken toy. Do you ever miss Earth? Kelly asked. Amelia considered the question. She had visited Earth several times over the past year, helping select new humans for the Alliance, checking on her old shop. Each time it had felt less like home and more like a place she had once lived long ago. I miss certain things, she admitted. The smell of rain on hot pavement, sunsets, small human things. She gestured at the nebula outside the window. But I wouldn't trade this for anything. The ship's communication system chimed softly. Ambassador Carter, came the voice of the Draconis captain. We're receiving a transmission from the Empress. She requests your presence in the communication chamber. On my way, Amelia replied, as she walked through the corridors of the ship, passing humans and Draconis working side by side. Amelia thought about the strange path her life had taken, from a lonely mechanic in a small shop to an ambassador between species, all because she had seen how something broken could be fixed. The Empress's face appeared on the large screen in the communication chamber. She looked tired but satisfied. Amelia, she said warmly, how goes the exploration? Well, Your Majesty, we've mapped 3 new star systems and made contact with a pre-spaceflight civilization on the 4th planet of the Lyra system. The Empress nodded. Good, but that is not why I called. Her expression grew more serious. The Chimera have approached us with a request. They wish to learn more about human thinking. They believe it may help them evolve. Amelia raised her eyebrows in surprise. They want to learn from us? The beings who believe in perfect order want to understand chaos. It seems your influence extends further than we thought, the Empress said with a slight smile. They have requested you specifically as a teacher,